Welcome to the Help Her Be Brave podcast show, where we have great ideas on how you can help save lives. I'm Amy Ford.
And I'm Jessica Russo.
And today we're going to be talking to one of my really good friends. I feel like I say everyone's a good friend.
Everybody's a good friend.
Yeah, but they are. But in press, the pro-life movement, we're pretty tight, for the most part. There can be drama here and there, but not with us. We love everybody. But Bree, she really is.
She's amazing.
She really is a good friend. And she used to work at Focus on the Family. And so we met was just going to all of the pro-life conferences, and we always had a booth and they always had a booth. And so we just really their team and our team, we just really hit it off. And we just would be like, where are we going tonight for dinner? You know, it wasn't even a question. It's like, where are we going?
We're inviting ourselves and
right.
You're coming.
Yes. So, gosh, I don't know how many years ago that was. And now she is doing amazing work at, through Women of Welcome, which really just shares and highlights what's going on at the border, showing us how we can pray and if there's a different approach and how we can legally let some people come in, the ones that shouldn't come in don't come in, but how can we show compassion through the process of immigration and with refugees? And she's doing amazing work. So let's bring her on. Hey, Bree, how are you?
I'm great. How are you girls?
Really good. I was just telling Jessica how much I love you, and you're just our people. And we don't really get to see each other as much in the pro-life circuit as far as the conferences and things like that, but you're always like our people. You're at least my Colorado people now, so every time I go to Colorado we got to go hang.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just loving all of this work with Women of Welcome and just the awareness that you guys are doing for women at the border. And so tell us a little bit about how, I know you worked in the pro-life. This is, to me, a pro-life ministry, even though it's a pro-whole life ministry. We'll call it that. And then before that, you worked with Focus with their Sanctity of Life. But tell me about what makes you passionate about life.
Well, honestly, I really love God and I love His Word. And when you read Scripture, it's just full of God coming close to really marginalized and vulnerable people. And so at the core of the pro-life movement is this desire to advocate for vulnerable people. And so that's kind of what makes my heart go. That's what gets my energy level up, is saying, okay, what do you need and how can I enter into that space? How can I be Christ-like in meeting you where you're at? So that's why I'm passionate about the pro-life space.
Yeah. And we've gotten to witness so many cool organizations doing really amazing things. And so, tell us a little bit about Women of Welcome and what all you guys do and how you guys are just educating people about what's going on at the border.
Sure, yeah. So Women of Welcome is a community of Christian women who are pursuing compassion and Christ-like welcome towards immigrants and refugees. And immigrants and refugees can tend to be kind of a divisive subject matter. And when you talk about being holistically pro-life and how this part of that puzzle, this piece of that puzzle fits in, it makes people feel a little bit squishy sometimes. And so, because it can be really highly controversial for some reason. I mean, it's definitely had a lot of inflammatory rhetoric around it over the last 4 to 8 years. And it's been a hard topic to talk about. And what we discovered about, 3 years ago was that there were women, Christian women, who were having compassion for women at the border. And they were seeing these mothers who were fleeing these violent countries that had no opportunity and really huge safety concerns for their families. And they were fleeing to the United States, which they have always heard is a Christian nation with Christian values. And so this is the land of opportunity, Statue of Liberty, all of this. And so they're coming to the U.S. for a better life, and they want to provide for their kids. And so it fits into the pro-life narrative in the fact that if you think holistically about being pro-life, you're talking about marginalized, vulnerable people who don't have a voice in the popular space, in the majority culture and the majority space. And so Women of Welcome started to see and understand that there were evangelical women who wanted to talk about immigrants and refugees, and there was not a safe space for them to talk about it. It was their pastors weren't really preaching about it. Their husbands were pretty well decided about how they felt about it. And the research from Barna and Lifeway was saying that that was mostly negative feelings towards immigrants and refugees. And so then you had your community that was pretty divided politically. And at Women of Faith, we're strictly nonpartisan in the fact that we want to come at this vulnerable population and subject matter from a orthodox biblical perspective. And so we said, let's start talking to these women and let's just see what God does. I mean, do these women really exist? The research is saying these women exist and that people aren't talking to them. And so we started talking to them. We offered a free Bible study, and we've had nearly 100,000 downloads of that free Bible study about Ruth and Naomi and about migrating people. So there is a hunger from Christian women to move from this place of compassion to confidence and a biblical rooting in advocating and speaking up for these families and for these women.
That is amazing. I was so excited this past week, actually this last Monday. My housekeeper, she had been so nervous, and she had to take her exam to be an American citizen, and we all were praying and just so excited for her. And then she called me Monday night, and she's like, Miss Amy, I did it. We were jumping up and down, so excited, and she studied so hard for it and just did all the hard work, that comes along with trying to be here legally. And she is amazing. And I know that there's so many that do want to come over. And so what is it like? I've never been to the border. What is it like there? What are the circumstances are? These women are just really desperate for a different life. And a lot of them you had mentioned are fleeing violence, right?
Yes. So what I say about the border is when you talk about the border, I think people can get really nervous and start to have like heart palpitations, like, okay, we're going to talk about the border. This is very controversial. And what I would say is, just to ease anyone who's listening, is that Women of Welcome is not advocating for illegal immigration. We actually would want to suggest that our policies and our laws should make illegal immigration harder, but that we should have better pathways and more effective pathways for those who are seeking either asylum or seeking opportunity to come into the country in a legal way. And so I think everybody is pretty aware of how broken our immigration system is. And so over the last 4 years or so, the wall and the border have just become this really big hot topic. And so I think it's important to have some context here about who's at the border and why they're coming to the border. And I'll try and explain that super fast. And that is, 10, 20 years ago, those people were coming to the border and really seeking to cross illegally, were coming mostly for jobs. And they were coming to find opportunity to provide for their families. And a lot of those folks were seasonal workers, a lot of farms and factories that were saying, okay, come in, we need work. And so they were coming for, economic opportunity. In the last 5 years, 5 to 10 years, that demographic has really shifted. So the vast majority, I would say about 64%, according to Border Patrol stats, of people coming to the border are family units or women and children. Mm-hmm. And what they're seeing is that there is so much violence happening in the Northern Triangle with gangs and the murder rate. I mean, you have El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras who are all usually fighting for the top number one spot. They're usually in the top 5 in the world for murder per capita. And so you've got families who are trying to survive in their home country, and there's no opportunities. There's so much corruption. There's a lot of violence that they're saying, you know what, I know of a safe place. And usually a lot of them already have families who are here in the U.S. So they're coming to a safe place. So what's happening is these families are coming to the border and they're presenting themselves at the border. And they're saying, I want to apply and seek asylum in the U.S. And I think a lot of people are like, well, not everyone can be here. And that's true. Not everybody should be here. Not everybody can be here. But you've got these women and children who are showing up at the border and submitting themselves to the fullest and most thorough vetting process in the entire country, in the entire world, really, and saying, vet me, see if my story checks out. And if it doesn't, then they don't get to come in. But if it does, they're saying, check me out. I want to come. I need a better life. And so as Christians, our job is to say, all right, there is a need. I see a vulnerable person. And it's for me to lean in to listening to what that need is instead of a first posture of fear and of, no, this is mine. And so what we're seeing is women who are saying, please hear my story. Please see me, because I'm not seen in my home country. I've fled, and we know that there is, just from migration data, there's so much violence, physical and sexual violence that happens to women on the journey up from Central America, that when they get to us, our response is one of a military response instead of a humanitarian response. And so it's a mismatch between who's really coming to us, and we're treating it kind of like as a safety concern instead of a humanitarian, like, wow, this is a family who is in need. We're the wealthiest nation in the world. How should we respond? And as Christians, what should our response be? And so at the border, you're going to see, because of a lot of policies that we have had enacted and executive orders that have happened over the last couple of years, you're going to see a lot of families who are camping out in makeshift refugee tents and camps all along the border, waiting for their asylum claims to be heard. And we know that there's a backlog of about 50,000 asylum claims waiting to be heard. So that's kind of the tension in the situation that's happening at the border. But you have a lot of vulnerable families camping out in really vulnerable, dangerous border towns, waiting to be heard and hoping to be seen.
What if we lived in a world where every woman with an unplanned pregnancy always felt empowered to choose life for her and her unborn baby? Well, get your copy of Help Her Be Brave to discover your place in the pro-life movement and put your passion into action. To order your book and to learn more about the Help Her Be Brave initiative, visit www.helpherbebrave.com.
Yeah, you had mentioned that there's a lot of single moms and that they just want to be seen. And it makes me think about Hagar in the Bible. She's the first single mom in the Bible, and they didn't have food, her and her son Ishmael, they didn't have food or water, and she just thought they were going to die. And she put her son under a tree to kind of let him rest. And he kind of started crying, and she looked away because it was just too hard to look at. And an angel came and gave him water and said, it's going to be okay. And I love how she referred to God as the God that sees. And as a single mom, that is so true, especially fleeing a domestic violence or just violence in general. And the compassion part was that he gave her son water, when she needed it. And then Ishmael, his name means God hears. And the first kid in the Bible, that is being raised by a single mom, his name means God hears. And I just think that's so amazing. And that if there is a way that we can have a more humanitarian approach at the border, and knowing how to pray for that, and that things change there to be more loving and compassionate. And I know I have a friend that works closely with the border, and she said that it's also a lot of pregnant women as well. And they're at a place of desperation, not knowing what to do. And that if we can find a way to have more compassionate care at the border, it would change so much.
Right. And I mean, the reality is that when you start to dig into a lot of these human dignity areas and spaces, you find that there's just so much nuance to be had that people aren't talking about, or they're not referencing, or they're shying away from. They're not leaning into learning, and they're not choosing to get in closer proximity to understand what the nuance is. Because at Women of Welcome, we would say you can have safe borders and compassionate treatment for those who are either in our care or custody, or that are looking to us for help. And so we don't have to compromise on safety in order to have compassionate treatment of people who people are made in the image of God. And what I would say is, I'll just share a story. I took a trip to Oaxaca, Mexico, and we had a film crew come with us. We made a documentary out of it. It's called Who is Welcome Here. It's a free film that's on YouTube that you can watch if you want. But there were three of us women who, it was a group of us women, but three of us women that they kind of followed. And one of the places we went into was a shelter for unaccompanied migrant children who had either been lost from their parents on their journey, or they had been separated in some way, or maybe their folks had left them at that center. And I think when I showed up to the center and I heard that, my first response is, what mother leaves her child in a center and continues on to the U.S.? Like, what is that? And then as you start to kind of hear some of the stories and you understand the dangerous risks that these people are facing in order to try and have a better life, you start to understand it's really a choice between the lesser evil, or, and you start to think, what is the situation that these people are fleeing, that this is the best option, is to be separated from your child. And when we went to the center, we met an 11-year-old girl and we met a 14-year-old girl, and they both had babies. And you saw babies raising babies. And I had to dismiss myself from the group. I had to go in another room, and I just was weeping. And another gal came in, she's like, are you okay? Two other gals came in, and the gal who was leading the trip at the time was like, she's not okay. She's grieving the fact that she's missed this. Let's let her have a moment. And that's exactly what it was. I was grieving that as a Christ follower and someone who loves women and vulnerable people, that I had turned such a blind eye to the nuance and the pain that had existed, that I was just, I was so up close and personal with it. I was watching an 11-year-old hold an 8-day-old baby, and she had to go through that without her mother.
Wow.
And she had said that her mother and her fled because of what happened to her. We know that no child chooses to become a mother at 11 or at 15. Mm-hmm. 11-year-old, that's, so there was a violence that was committed towards these young girls, and their mothers fled with them. And as you think about the journey, it's like, it's thousands of miles to get from Central America to the U.S. And so they come across this shelter in Oaxaca, Mexico, and their daughters are pregnant. And you think, okay, is it better to leave my daughter in this shelter, this government-run shelter that's going to take care of her and her baby, than her delivering somewhere on the side of the road during the trek? So I'm going to stay here and let her be taken care of here. And she's going to get fed, she's going to get health care, she's going to get all these things. And I'm going to continue on to the U.S. by myself and try and seek asylum there. And then I'm going to send her. There's just this devastating, really icky feeling like, wow, these are the choices that people are having to make, And what is my role in making that difference? It's just like what we talk about in the abortion, the preborn space. What does a woman need in order to think that abortion isn't even really something she has to consider? How do we make abortion unthinkable? How do we make it unnecessary? It's by entering in with her and doing life with her and caring about her. And not just saying, I'll pray for you, but walking alongside her and entering into that pain and saying, whatever this mess is, I'm going to figure it out with you. And, that's what we're called to do as pro-lifers. That's what we're passionate about, is saving someone's life. And it's not just their life, it's the quality of their life. It's the flourishing of their life that we care about.
So true. That,
oh my gosh.
I know. So how can people get connected to what you guys are doing?
Yeah. So, on Facebook, we just have 100,000 in our community on Facebook. And we also are on Instagram as well. We're kind of newer there, but we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. And then we also have a private Facebook group that's about 3,000 women. So if you're on either one of those on Instagram or Facebook, and you're like, I've got some questions that I have, and they're complicated, they're probably messy, maybe they're elementary, maybe they might come across as rude or insensitive, we've got a smaller community of women who are just wanting to know more, ask questions in a safe space. And that's our private group on Facebook. So we would encourage you to get involved in that group and just start listening, start watching, start seeing, start asking questions. We also have just a plethora of video resources on our website, womenofwelcome.com, and on our YouTube channel. So there's a film that you can watch about going over to the border with other Christian women and just meeting other migrant families and meeting other migrant mothers who are struggling and wanting us to see them. And then, of course, you can always, our supporting partner is World Relief. And World Relief does a lot of programmatic work in vulnerable areas with women and children around the world. So you can find them on Instagram and on social too. But that's where you can find us. That's how you can get involved with us.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'm in that private group. It is really good. A lot of helpful information. Bree, thank you so much for being on with us today. We love you so much and we're praying for you. And we're just so thankful for all of the awareness that you're bringing and showing people how to pray and how to help. But thanks for being on today.
Love being with you, girl.
I am just wrecked by that story of going into that shelter and meeting the 11 and 14-year-old mom. Like instantly I saw my kids in my head.
I know, 11, I mean.
Broke my heart. I have a 10-year-old.
Yeah, me too.
And I have all boys.
No,
but
wait, he's 9. I lose track.
Lose track of their ages. But like they are not just capable of being parents in any way. And
yeah, 11-year-old is like unicorns and puppies.
Yes, and these girls' moms, like how broken their hearts must be for what their daughters have had to experience and endure. So, oh my goodness, I cannot even imagine.
I know, and I love that that they're talking. Women of Welcome is talking about it because she's right. Like a lot of churches don't talk about this because it's an over politicized issue when this is people, and it's just like
abortion.
Yeah, exactly. It's
people
like
make everything about
it.
Politics, and it's not. It's just about the heart of Christ. Are we going to love these people? And we can't turn away from the hard things just because it's hard to look at.
Right.
We have to help them. We have to do something.
Right. Yeah. So I just love everything she said, that we can really even be strategic in our prayers about how we can change things. And like she was saying with the military, right now they're kind of being met by military, which I understand that is needed too, but can we have compassion and just allowing them to be seen and their voices
heard? How scary
heard.
That must be to be fleeing somewhere because of danger. And then you're met with military forces. Like, I wouldn't even know what to do. Like, that's terrifying to think about. But about praying for people, like even praying for the change of hearts, like that God would soften the hearts of people who see this as a political issue, and that we want to own this country and the freedoms that we have. And we should want to share that, just like the kingdom of heaven. Exactly. We want everybody to be a part of it.
Right. Well, I definitely encourage you guys to get plugged into Women of Welcome. Join that small group it's not so small. I think she said 3,000 women. It's growing. But it's a safe place to even just ask questions or learn more about what's going on and how we can pray and help. And also, if you want more ideas on how you can help women be brave and choose life, you can grab my new book, which I'm super excited about, Help Her Be Brave, Discover Your Place in the Pro-Life Movement. You can get it on Amazon or at embracegrace.com, and just click on the tab shop at the bottom of the page, and you can grab a book there. Either way. And then also just share the show, share this whole series, subscribe to our YouTube, our Spotify and iTunes. We would love to just talk with you every single week about ideas and ways you can get involved, highlighting awesome organizations that are doing great things, and just people uniquely walking alongside single moms and inspiring life decisions. And so thank you so much for watching this week. We'll see you next.